Exactly.
Hello everyone. My name is Pablo Valdes. So I'm a previous software engineer at NVIDIA, software engineer intern, and I'm a computer science student at FIU. I'm currently a junior. And some fun facts about me is my last name is Valdez with an S, and I'm a professional vibe coder. All right. So today we're gonna make a Gemini powered chatbot. So the first step is to go on Google Cloud. Actually, let's just search Gemini API because this is how we're going to be able to interact with Gemini. So let's explore models in Google AI Studio and let's see how we can do this. Right, so right off the bat, we have an option to vibe code generative AI apps. So I didn't know this was a thing, but let's do it. All right. So all right, I'll run this in the background just because I'm curious. And I've already set up a simple Next.js repository or code base. So Google actually has this new build feature where you could actually build full stack applications actually right inside of the web browser. So it's going to make all the files and essentially they're all going to be saved onto the cloud where you could edit the code or make changes or view it deployed. So you can see right here, it's making all those files. And I believe this is powered by Gemini 2.5. And I think in a couple weeks or months, they'll be deploying Gemini 3, which is going to be one of their most powerful models soon. Let's go back. Gemini API. While that's loading, I'll go to Gemini API and I'll try and get my API key. So let's make an API key and I'll delete this after the recording just so it doesn't get misused. Name your key, Gemini key, we'll call it that. And for us to have an API key, we'll need to connect it to a project. So we'll just create a project and we'll just call this Gemini chatbot. So we'll create a project, create a web key. And then we have our API key right here. Go to Google AI Studio. Okay, we have some nice code here. Okay. Process.api key. All right, so in this code base generated by Gemini, we actually have right here. So this is using essentially the TypeScript version of the development kit right here. And it's using this to essentially connect to Gemini. And in here, we're using process.env.api key, which means that it's going to the .env and getting the API key from there. So this is to secure your API key, but since since we're right here, what we could just do as well is we could just copy our API key and we could just paste it here. So I'm just doing this to, for example, just to see if this works, which it should. Go to preview, see if this works. Yeah, there we go. All right, and that's how you make a Gemini powered chatbot using Gemini. It's pretty quick. All right, cool. That was like less than 10 minutes. Pretty cool. Yeah, don't clap yet. Let's see if we could because this isn't I don't think this is Next.js. This is not Next.js. This is just like regular React. So this is not what we want exactly. But it's really close. Okay. So we want this in our Next.js project, not React. Uh, okay, so we need to figure out how to use this. So let's just search Gemini API docs. And we're gonna use this in TypeScript, so let's just search TypeScript. See if we can find some information here. Quick start. So JavaScript. All right. So we got it running in Gemini Cloud or build, but let's see if we could get it on our own machine. So first thing we'll do is we'll try and install Google Gen AI. Let's go make sure we're in the client directory. npm install that. So we're installing the package that has all the essentially tools so we could work with the Gemini API. Okay, make your first request. Here's an example that uses the generate content method to send a request to Gemini API using 2.5 Flash model. So there's different models that you could use for the API, and 2.5 is just one of their like smaller quick models. Set your API key. Okay, so we'll need a environment. So in Next.js, you do that using .env.local, and we'll get our API key, which we made. Copy that, and we'll just call it Gemini API key. There we go. Using example generate content methods and you set your API key to form a Gemini. I'll try and put this on the left side and I'll have my code editor on the right. So inside of a page.tsx, which is like the root of our website, if we start this using npm run dev, so right now it's empty. So let's try importing this. So import Google Gen AI. Now let's see how we can use this. Yeah, equals. Constant response. Okay. So let's make a function that we could use this in to make a prompt. Const actually prompt equals. So I'm gonna make this async because we have to wait for the API response. Use effect. We'll do like here, const AI equals new Google Gen AI. So this is essentially an HTTP client, so we could interact with Gemini's API. And then this looks like it's a initialization function. So let's see, context. All right, no, it's not. I guess this is just to make the prompt, so I think we could remove this. Const. Try, put this in a try catch block. Catch. So this is to catch any errors that might occur. And we'll just log those errors. So, so we're gonna try to get a response from Gemini. Const response equals await AI.models dot generate content. And then in here, if we hover over this, we could see the parameters. So it takes a model parameter and then contents. Parameters for generating. We'll just put this information here. All right, and then if this response works, then, well, we want to check if the response exists. If 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 not response, just throw yeah, do this. Throw error TypeScript. Throw new error. Just say no response. And if there is a response, we'll just return that. Or we actually might want to keep this in state. So what we could do is we'll import use state from React, because Next.js is a framework for React. And we'll have a prompt response and a set prompt response. So this is going to store that. We use state, and initially it'll be empty. And the type for this is a string because we're using TypeScript. Consent response. So we'll just set this. So set prompt response. I think I'm setting this wrong. It's all just debug with AI. Yeah. What use state from the ads? So, hmm. So I'm just gonna go through the docs to figure out how to do this. Sync function. Yeah, the thing is with these, it's like these examples are just like vanilla JavaScript where I'm looking more for React and Next.js. So I'll probably just use AI to quickly do this. Yeah, Gemini chatbot. I think Google might also have some tutorials on this, so I'll search for that as well. Google Gemini chatbot. Is it, they usually have a lot of tutorials. Actually, this is a really good tutorial. Here. Never mind. Custom chat application. See what this does. Yo, Milker. You gotta fix the Google Docs, man. Bro. You have your camera on? Yeah, I do. Sorry, bro. My fault. And when you were making Gemini, dude, and do good docs. Okay. All right, I don't know. I think this works. There's a function to essentially prompt Gemini. Should probably work and return text. So I want a prompt. So I need to save whatever the user writes. User prompt set user prompt. State. We'll just change this to be dynamic. And it'll be user prompt. There you go. On click prompt. Then we need a function to handle change. Handle user input change. Set user prompts. E dots. Value. I think it is. And then we'll have an input text.
Todos ustedes se copiaron. Tú tenías la respuesta en tu mano. Me lo dijo Baldwin. Right? Those Baldwin. She was killed. He saw you. He saw you. That is Gemini?
Huh?
That is Gemini?
I don't use Gemini, bro.
Bro?
I don't use the API, dude.
You're like Google Bush on it.
Nah, I was doing the vibe coding workshop.
Oh.
Everything else is like improv. All right. So I don't. Let's see if this works. No. Why is use state not working? Is it- Import use state from React. Is that not working? Oh, okay. My bad. Because we're using Next.js, so we have to use client when we're in when we
yeah.
use anything with state. I forgot. Facts. Yeah.
Facts.
All right, let's give this input some height. W dash. Just make it 400 pixels. Height 400 pixels. And background white. Text black. And we'll center this all to the middle of the screen.
Oh, bro. What?
So I'm just trying to make a simple UI for this. Let's make this flex columns so they stack. Add a gap.
Right.
Just making a simple UI, guys. Okay, issue API key, we didn't set it. Right. API key in here. Okay, where's the docs? And to access the API key, process, no, env dot. A certain way to do this in Next.js. I'll just do this for now. Okay, let's see. Let's console.log this. Console.log response. See if we see it. Response.text is not a function. Dot text. Text. Yo, it worked. All right, cool. All right, we got it to work somehow. Nice. Let's capital of Florida. Fuck. All right, all right, the capital of Florida is Tallahassee. All right, this is awesome. All right, it works. Okay, so this isn't, I wouldn't say this is like exactly a really good chatbot like the one we made in at the beginning, right here. This was a really good chatbot because I believe this has a history, and so basically how it would work is like the history of like the previous parts that were generated would get sent into whatever future prompts you make. So it would give it additional context. Our version that we made is really simple and it doesn't have that. It just kind of works with the Gemini API to generate a response and then we just display that response. So we put our prompt, we run it, and we display a response. And how that works is we just have this input field that takes in text, we write whatever, and then whenever that input changes, right, we're going to use this handle user input change. And what that's doing is just setting the value of whatever's in the input inside the prompt, the user prompt, right? And then we have this button run, which when you click it, it's going to run this prompt. And inside this prompt, it's an asynchronous function. So that means that, it can wait. And what that's doing is essentially making an HTTP client from the Gemini API docs right here. So we're putting our API key. Normally you would use a .env so you could store this securely. Because right now, if I git committed this, it'd be exposed and then bots would get it instantly. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure it is in a secure file like .env. And then you'd access it through there. You could search that. And then inside here, we're using a try catch block. We're using that in case we get any errors with the API, right? And then we're doing this response, and then we're using the HTTP client, and we're using this method, generate content, which is hitting the Gemini API. We're specifically using this model, Gemini 2.5 Flash. It's one of the most recent ones. And then the contents of the prompt is based on what we put in the text input. And then we're getting that response. We're using .text to access what was returned from Gemini. And then we're getting that if there was nothing, if not text, we're throwing an error. Otherwise, we're console.logging this. And then we're just setting the prompt. So we're setting the prompt in this state, which is initially empty. And then there, we're just displaying the prompt response right here. So we're displaying the prompt response in a paragraph, and whenever that's there, whenever it changes, you'll just see it right here. And that's how this small app works. Obviously, I wasn't able to do like crazy thing or anything, but if you use AI, you can. So that's it, guys. I posted the code on. Let me commit these changes minus my API key. Beat chatbot. Simple chatbots. And this is also where you could easily like commit using a Git. So commit. And then this is going to go to my GitHub repository. And so now you'll see all the changes there. And so all that code is right here. You just git clone it. You'd CD to client. I'll just write it right here. Git clone. cd client npm install, and then npm run dev. And there we go. All right, thank you all so much. That is it.